6 wins in a row. You're just over 1 OS away from OS 25. Bro, get the win.
That's right, everyone. If anybody does see Tank Tom in a ranked game, make sure to absolutely crush him. You high OS players, get in there and stop him.
We're returning to the familiar position of front lines.
Yeah.
If they ask you for money, front lines.
I would have to say, though, in this map, you're in the position of 3 players down the bottom versus 4. Obviously, the opposite, asymmetrical. So everyone's frontline in this position, I think. Or is that a tech player back here? But in that role, I think orange would be tech/air. I don't know. I don't know how this map's played.
However, it does turn out it is a 3 versus 4, which means that you've put yourself on the harder side of the map, and I do like that because I'd back you being on the harder side over some of the other players. But the question is, can your easy side of the map take on their harder side of the map? The big question is whether or not the total OS is going to match. We do have some very strong players here. Stud AZZ, their 27 OS, but more importantly, Silver Chev player leading the charge on that side in your opposite position. And we're going to see them backed up by a decent skill level of a 21 and a 17, as compared to on your team where you do have your 8 OS as well as your 12 backing up a 22. So it could be an interesting one up there. One of the big determiners on this map is the ocean, though. These little water lanes can be traversed by tier 1 ships, so if you do lose that water, it can be a big problem if the other players knows what they're doing. And that's going to be a big factor in this one, I would say, particularly seeing that the green player is going with a traditional start, getting some units out across the other side, as compared to your C player that's gone into just a single herring. A herring cannot defend very well against just about anything, so this will be a tough start for your team. But with your yellow units moving across the map, you do have some opportunity here. There is not much to stop you, just 1 incisor. The problem is you have to take this engagement at the exact right place, and trying to fight him while moving up the hill is unfortunately not that right place. Unable to get the surround because of the trees, and losing too many of those units there. That is one thing. That is one of the problems with spreading units too far, that if one does go down, you lose that surround bonus, and the rest of the blue units have managed to make their way in and close the gap for you. A couple of seconds in this one, and I'm actually going to call you out on this one. Those couple of seconds were from a miss rally. You did not have those units rallied forward, so you waited for a couple of them to build up in the base before moving forward. You genuinely could have gotten in if you had dealt with the rally.
You have done the right thing this game and got the construction turret out. Unfortunately, though, you didn't have a queue on the commander after the construction turret was finished, and so while you were microing that entire time, the commander was just standing there doing nothing. Now you've brought it out. It could have probably already got up to this mix at this stage. We're at 3.5 minutes on the dot, and just with your original 3 mexes, comparing that to the opponent on the other side, they've already gone out and taken 2 forward up here. The Geo's half up, and in a quite a good position with their commander halfway through the map. So some improvement here, maybe a little bit of inexperience with the map, but we'll see how it goes, because you do have...
Part of that just the asymmetry of the map?
Yeah.
To an extent, but so in reality, the control of this map should line up where it has right now, with your units on this side of the river and theirs on the top of the hill over here. Yeah. However, if you are quick enough as the team of 3 and you can gain yourself position on top of this ramp, you unlock yourself 3 more mexes, as well as a great location to prevent them from pushing forward, because they have to cross that slow river. Any tanks are going to have to ride up a hill. Does give you a good chance, but there are 4 players over there, so it's only going to be the swiftest and the most aggressive players that can end up there. It also does require a little bit of little bit of lack of units from the other team. So the battle lines are drawn approximately where they should be, and it's going to come down to the battle on the low ground to give you an advantage to push up onto that top side. Not to mention, if you pop an aggravator or any sort of long range unit right about where your comm is now, just the edge of that cliff, you can shell there. So if you do get that before they do, then you can gain that position yet again and waste whatever they spend on defenses.
Just
But
going
again,
to point out, this player here just north of you built their LLT so that they weren't covering the full gap, and you could just see a easy run around and a number of grunts gone into the base here. So a nice little catch out by the player that you've been with in a couple games when these were played. Probably not microing them the best though, but I think a little damage might be done. I'd say the constructors would be the best target here. Maybe that build power. Oh,
especially since they're right next to that
Geo
conversion, should be able to grab those and do damage. Has grabbed the builders and is grabbing the Geo. One of the things that if you end up in this situation, you can actually just put one pawn behind the Geo and leave it there, and then use all of the others to do damage if you ever have to do something like this in the future. There we go. That player has. It's almost like they can hear me. They just, for anyone wondering, they can't. We're casting this from a replay. You can tell by the fact that we have the option to speed it up to 20 times, but definitely a thing that's worth looking into, because it's going to be very hard to clear up a grunt on the wrong side of that Geo, especially if this, and then it also forces them to make a choice: clear up that grunt or lose the rest of the base to those other grunts. So a lot of good damage here, and this is going to really even things up for this side of the map. It's turning a 3v4 into a 3v3.5, but that said, the green player does have good units on the front, good defensive position, and so it is going to be hard for your team to break across onto that middle island, though everyone is doing their best. Does look like we are seeing an agitator coming down as well in this top section. That should help clear this up. If you look at the range of that, it is going to cover most of that front line. Best position for it is actually closer to where that jellyfish is, just so you can cover a little bit more. But an agitator in any area here will be good enough.
I like what this player is doing. They're helping you get it up. You're going to put a jammer down if you appease their request. Yes, you have. Yep. And I do like that you did. I mean, you briefly did it. Last time I checked, you had stopped building the Geo just so that you can focus on the agitator.
I stopped building the Geo long enough to get enough conversion up that I wasn't overflowing anymore, I think.
Got it.
Nice.
What happened there?
There we go.
Hopefully with that Geo, you'll power yourself into the future. I also would like to point out that compared to the last game, you have fixed up your energy converter problem, which was a focus on the early game. In the last one, a lot of wasted potential, which has now been taken care of this time.
One thing for this player here, very hard to do and to know what to do when you've got this sort of vision, but you can see that the shots from the agitator are just coming off of here. The commander was like right here. See if you can just walk it in and do a D-gun up that hill. That would have been completely OP and taken out 1,000 metal. Even if your commander dies, it's trading positively with the metal value of a commander versus the agitator. Not to mention they won't have area control. So food for thought for people here. That agitator has now meant that this player has been able to push forward. They're staying out of the range of the LLTs. And yeah, it's looking a little bit better, evening things up, because you can see up north as Ned's New Zealand. I reckon that's standing for NZ. Yep, it is a New Zealand flag. Just across the creek from us, they've taken quite a bit of that island. There's quite a few maces up there, healing them as they go. Nicely done. Oh, you've taken out the commander. I've missed that. Or was that the thugs?
A bit of both.
I believe that was the thugs, with the agitator doing some chip damage along the way. Interestingly, even though this is an asymmetrical map, the sides are looking very, very similar. We do have the Agi up for, the Gauntlet up for Spectre 117, doing essentially the same thing. The big difference is that the red team is trying to get their own Gauntlet up to try and match it. Though I don't know if that's quite the right call. I would like to see, as you said, that D-gun would be quite nice.
T2 out of the three players on the north there, so really nicely done. I think because the higher OS of this player, they've been able to really take on a lot of the APM of the three players. So it's 2 versus 3 up here. And the Cyan player has been able to completely focus on eco by the looks of things, sending out T2 constructors, giving them to blue first. Good call there. You do have T2 in this lane, luckily, but I don't see it being shared around. Yes, you've been shared. You've been shared. Nice. That is nice to see.
We did a bit of a probing attack here to see what was across the river from us, and decided that we didn't want to deal with that yet, so we pulled back. Basically using that agitator to chip away at the bits and pieces that we can see, all the things that are shooting back at us.
And that little probe has told you there's a couple of LLTs on the high ground, which will be a nice little take, especially since you're losing a few of yours to the lashes, or at least a few of total salvages to the lashes. I would have preferred if that player did go into a couple more units to try and help here, but they are pushing for the advanced geo, and just going with some defenses to hold on this side of things.
Not a terrible decision, because they know that there's no way that this small army is going to break the whole way through, and they know that they're probably going to have Sheldons or similar out before anything can happen, which will be able to just push through a lot of this. So yeah, it could go either way.
I'm not necessarily against getting up the eco while you can. We're essentially safe-ish at this point.
Yeah. And the team does need it to keep competitive. Medal's pretty even through the teams. Energy definitely in the favour of the blue team with that. Well, they're going to be well ahead, actually, just as I look over, the advanced geo comes online and they're jumping up to the 40% range for energy.
But I don't think that that's going to play the biggest... Well, it is going to play a big factor on the top side of the map, but if you look at the bottom side of the map, it is looking relatively even between your 3 players and their 4. So I think this map might end up coming down to each of the 3 player sides, and how quickly they can aggress against the 4 player sides, because they're doing... I think that the positioning is decent for both teams, but it is the 3 players on each side that are more stacked, and hopefully going to be doing a lot.
Having a look at the water right now, and this one player with these res subs and the commander has kept this one destroyer alive to compete against the 3 boats that were on the opponent's team who just lost their commander. Could be the turning point. Having said that, they have focused on getting out some more units. There's a lot of reclaim here, so this is really important to decide where the naval battle is going. Eco is probably on the green team's favour, much more tidal. Army favour, slightly in the favour of cream, so unless that commander can go down, I reckon the green team might take the water. You're on the clock.
Had a recent loss myself in the naval position, and I couldn't understand how I managed to lose. I was ahead in every metric, but one engagement shifted the entire thing, and the reclaim from that. Then the travel distance meant that there was just essentially little to no coming back. So we'll see how this one goes and whether or not it can turn on a dime, and it does look like that's what this engagement in the middle is. Green does have control. The unit production is slightly ahead. The army value in the middle is slightly ahead, as well as having the comm there to repair, so some potential just there. But jumping back down to the bottom half, combining forces on that low ground, which is where I said the battle would be won or lost here. Does it look like, Tank Tom, you're getting your Rocketeers in? Unfortunately, they're behind the Thugs, so they're not getting the optimal damage in, but you're bringing your own in to try and deal with some of these tanks, and some great D-guns out of the comm there, though does go down just to the last couple of units. So it's going to be a bit of a scrapper here in the middle. But with all of these units, should be able to push through and should be able to get the res, though. The green team is doing the right thing by having those res bots already here, so they've grabbed at least some of that reclaim.
Well, they have done, though. They've done an area reclaim, so sometimes it's reclaiming metal, sometimes it's reclaiming the trees. They need to just make sure they're focusing on reclaiming just metal. Hit that E, hold down the Alt, and then drag the circle while selecting some of the metal, and it will just reclaim metal.
It would be nice if there was a command to just a key bind that you could use for just grabbing metal, but who knows if that'll come or go. And one of the things that is important to remember is if there's a command to do absolutely everything, then there's no need for skill and remembering how to play the game.
Plenty of thugs here. Is there a reaction? Oh, there's SAR coming out. Is that going to be up in time? It's a very slow build. There's still 20 seconds left.
Yeah, it'll be up.
You still got a decent way to walk.
You got a long way to go. Thugs are slow.
Yeah. No, that's not Tom here.
They're not quick.
That's the player above Tom. But this SAR is quite slow as well with a speed of only 41.
But one ZAR will clean up all of these units. Tank Tom, it definitely would have been a good idea to keep going with, but that's only because you don't know that the ZAR is there.
Yeah.
It's probably the good decision doing nothing, because at least you've got a defensive line there once the SAR cleans this up. These might get in. These are going to get in.
I don't think they'll do very much, though. They're getting reclaimed pretty quickly. The tanks are here. Only 2 really in there.
Yeah,
maybe
true.
a couple of
Are they even going to get one
structures going down, but doesn't look like it. That reclaim micro, this player is like, no, this has been done to me once before. I shall not let it happen again.
Yeah, it looks like defeat there. You're right. Backing the advantage of your team on the south, but north is not looking good.
Tank Tom,
Yeah.
let's look at what your comm is doing right now. It is just set on a follow command for Total Savage, and that has been the case since you were building that agitator. You've had the opportunity to get it into the middle to build these mexes and get the reclaim on. I would have loved to have seen you do that. That's one area where it's about balancing how much spending your macro on your micro, your APM.
Oh no, what's this player
but that's
doing?
an area that would have done a lot of damage.
You can see a whole bunch of mines up here. Someone's drawn, is that Bird Alarm? Bird Alarm's drawn to go up this lane because it's been the lane that's already been pushed through once. I know,
The worst thing is, there are detonated mines. Your team knows there are mines here.
No, don't tell me
Your team has heard
middle.
mines detected. And with those handful of pawns going through, it is well and truly established that there are mines here. Mines are so ludicrously effective.
No. What? How much metal is this? This is like over 2,000 metal of thugs. Oh,
And they're trading for a handful of tanks and LLTs. And that is going to be that's going to be an area controlled by the other team.
There you go. FFA, so just
Oh dear.
that is yeah. Hey, as the highest rated player on your team, I feel like they should have known to react to that. They can hear mines are detected. It comes up nice and loud. What they are doing nicely though is they're trying to do a bit of a run by here. So maybe they'll get in with all these pawns. And
Something
hey, they're going spam.
Note,
I like this.
Looking at the top half of the map.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
I remember this point and going,
boy,
great.
Boy, you got problems coming.
Scenario.
Yeah.
I can still see colours up there, so we knew we had a little bit of time, but we didn't have long.
So based on your previous game, it looks like you're in the same situation yet again, but this time you don't have 2 players eco and you're still on T1.
T2's on its way, but not very fast.
What it's meant as well is the Cyan player is now able to just completely ignore what's happening in their lane, I guess, across from them, because Blue and Lime have it under control, and they're going into mass hovers to help clean up what's here, and I dare say that they'll keep going through and then putting pressure on your lanes where units are now in.
Also, no reaction out of your side of the map. They're about to be hit by Platypus, they're about to be hit by Hounds, and you're about to be hit by Welders. There we go, that's the pings telling the team that they're moving across. Does look like some pullback of units, but this is not a lot to be pulling it back to try and defend this. A handful of Sheldons and a couple of Fiends. Gonna have to try and do some really good reclaim micro here, or this is gonna be quite the fall. Also, sending those Sheldons in is questionable.
What
Yeah,
you've got?
you want to be sending the Sheldons like back here and sending the Fiends.
Yeah, definitely Fiends in front.
Yeah. Probably a quicker reaction out of all these units would have been the best way to deal with this. The red player, which they're doing now, and this will clean it up, but essentially
Lots of
maroon
damage
player
done.
is not out, but
They've been set
not
back.
Healthy. It's
31 metal at 19 minutes is not a good place to be.
Yeah.
But if they utilize the reclaim that's there, then they should have a decent shot. Frontline seems to have mostly slowed down. Even though the spam is coming across, the units needed to stop this spam already existed, and they were known to have existed. The Tsars are just reaping an awful toll. 77 kills between them, and if you add that to the kills of the Tsar that's been reclaimed, that's been resurrected, over 200 kills done by 3 Tsars.
Yikes. Mostly grunts though.
Yeah, but 200 grunts is still a lot of metal.
We've got some big eco coming up for the blue team. So they're well ahead in eco right now, but they're going into the AFIS eco. Comparing that to your team, there's 1 fusion. You've got an advanced geo looking across the way and not much else. So if those AFISs come up online, that's game over.
It depends, actually. One of the things that players that feel safe tend to do is over eco. For example, if you look at this build queue, there's 3 AFIS down. It wouldn't surprise me if this turns into 4, maybe even 6 before Spectre actually comes online. If you over eco in a situation like this, it can actually lead to your destruction, because if you do that for AFIS, it's somewhere in the realms of 36,000 metal, 38,000 metal. That's not going to be on the battlefield. It will cover itself quite quickly over time, but if the units aren't there when they're needed, it can be a big problem.
Bit too much build power as well. What you were just saying was perfectly illustrated. Even though blue team's well ahead in all the eco, about 2 minutes ago, the army value was at 50% in the advantage of the red team, only going down with all the grunts falling down. So yeah, it really shows, and still doing a lot of damage here is the red player. You've gone into a bit more eco, getting a fusion up shortly and going to T2 to try and support the T1 spam that's coming out of red. I don't mind that, but it does look like there are enough units up here with the sprinters now out for the cyan player coming to hold south while this eco comes up online.
Tag Tom, where is your waypoint?
Oh my god, Tom.
Where is your waypoint?
Multiple games in a row.
Now, for anyone who is trying to do this push to 25 OS, the waypoint is a mistake, but the actual bigger mistake is not eating that lab to get the fusion. Yes, you're putting out units. Yes, you may need those units. Eat your damn lab, spend it on a fusion, build the lab again. Much more efficient. Do that, please, and build power matching as well. If you eat the lab, you'll need more than the 5 build power that you have in order to do it, but you will have the ability to do that, and you'll gain the metal back rather quickly. So definitely balance your building.
The other bit you missed is I never built one of my T2 Maxes.
Oh.
I'm not actually gonna call you too hard for that, because that's a sort of mistake that is just going to happen as you play. You will use an area mex command and accidentally leave a mex out, or you may accidentally grab the builder to do something else and it will stop. That's not a mistake that is going to happen every single game. Something like continuously forgetting to rally your buildings or not consuming your lab is something that's very consistent, and it's something which will change the shape of your game quite a lot. Just a one-off mistake's not a big deal.
One of the things that I did that time around was, rather than leaving my builder there to build the fusion, I dropped it in the range of the build power and then left.
I do like that.
The spot
Let the
out
build
for
power look after it.
the green player. Oh, that hurt. Hang on
17
There's
kills
a bombing
on
run.
that despot.
There is a bombing run that has a target on the advanced geo. Is there any anti-air in this area?
This is something also to bear in mind if you do end up getting air in any game. The geo will always be where the geo is. So if you want to target something, feel free. You can be totally blind and still target that one spot. No questions asked. Actually, sorry, I want to call this out. Really good reaction out of Spectre 117. These Archangels came up the moment the air warning came on and has protected their base. That's the sort of thing that you need to do if you want to be moving up in those OSs.
Unfortunately, actually, I'm just going to point out tactics like Too Nice. Great thing coming down and saving the bottom lanes here and essentially not letting the entire south fall. One other option they had with those hovers was go and completely annihilate the cream player. Because they're still alive, the green player has not been able to win the C. And like you said at the start of the game, Prey, if you win this game in C, you essentially win the game. So that might have been the priority, even though you might have fallen down south. If you win that naval lane, not many T2 units are going to take out Navy. Navy is powerful.
Navy's strong.
For those that watched our last video, you saw that rather than trying to assist the front line down south, I just pushed the advantage we already had and continued through the back lines. Because I knew that was going to be the best way to help my team down south, was to win as hard as you can and cut off the reinforcements by killing the economies.
Look at the front line. Big mistake right here. So this is quite an important one. You knew that the enemy had been defending with Zars. That's all they've been building for the last 10 minutes or so. And you took your fiends in a big clump into the front. If they'd been spread out, I still wouldn't have liked it, but I wouldn't call it a big mistake. I'd just say that it was unfortunate. But having them walk in a big clump into Zarfire, that you didn't see them, but you knew that they would be there. Predictive analysis is important. However, you've made up for that mistake by taking what's left of them and going around the outside of the island. And imagine what this attack would look like if you'd been able to get them, if all of them had been there instead of losing 15 of them to Azar. You are about to have one almost get into the base. You could have had another 14 or 15 actually get into the base. And this is where games can turn on a single dime. That one decision could have ended the game right here and now. Could have killed the pink player, could have moved up, could have moved across the map, because the only thing there to stop it was some sprinters, and done damage to the teal player.
There is a demon coming in. I'm really curious to see how this goes. I think the Shivas might actually go a bit better against these SARs, because the demons, how much health have they got? 18,000 compared to Shiva 9,000. So T Shivas have as much health, if not more, than one demon. These SARs should shut that down, but they're not doing anything. Come on, move.
Does look like they're starting to move now.
A whole 1 meter.
This is a bit pushing in here with the T3 in front, sending them in, and then having the Sheldon shell from behind would be very important to do. Right now, because of those fiends, you know exactly what's here, so the time to attack has already happened. These players, the difficult thing when working with players is you can't control what everyone's going to do. Tank Tom, your army as well as the T1 here is entirely waiting for the T3 to tank for it, because what you have is plenty of damage but little survivability against things like sprinters and the Zars, whereas what these Shivas represent is a lot of survivability against those units. So right now, as they're moving across, it's the time to attack. The missiles are going down onto the aggravator, and now the demon has cleaned it up. So now it is time to push some more. This is plenty to win this side, so long as everything stays where it should do. Basically, you don't run the T1 and the fiends into the Zars.
Are there any commanders here? There is one. Yeah, that demon going down really fast. The red player did call for the maroon player to send these pawns first. They just didn't.
The demon did do a decent job of soaking fire from the Zars. Most of those shots went onto the Zars. Went onto the demon.
Push south or push north? What would you do? Probably south.
I'm there has been very little out of the purple player on the high ground. I would be pushing towards the lilac player and the green player.
Yeah, we know that the ones in the low ground are where the damage is coming from.
I don't know. Oh, green looks like they're about to win C.
Green is about to win C, though. A really good hold over the time. APM did a fantastic job of staying alive in the C despite absolutely everything.
We got a bombing run. This time it's T2 bombers. I do love the hailstorms. Such a good name.
And they've dropped their load and are immediately heading off to another area. Good idea. They do have knowledge of those APHIS, it looks like. And they got him. They got him. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. So this player, the teal player, gave up momentum of crushing the top half of the map in order to build that eco, and that eco has accounted for nothing.
It's really important that if you're going to have eco, to make it, basically turn it into units.
Oh, that's bad. This player actually just self-destructed their own commander in spite of the resign vote not being put forward. I hate that when that happens.
I hate that. Look, you're in a team game. Sometimes you might think that it's game over, but if the team doesn't acknowledge it, you kind of have to play on. But I do get it. Right now, the blue team is in a really bad spot. So much just went down there. The eco is actually in favor of the red team for the first time in since about the 2 or 3 minute mark, and the army is pushing across. There is only limited build power. They're both the blue player and the light green player, lime player, are getting their T3 labs up, but don't actually have any units. And one of the things that I did warn of, which is going too heavily into eco, is exactly what's happened for Spectre. Spectre with 24,000 metal in the bank and has not managed to spend any of it on units, and now the bottom side is starting to make its way across. And even though the C has been won by the lime green player, they're going to lose a lot of what they have to Tank Tom's shelling from the sides. Not to mention, no help is coming in the form of air, as torpedoes are taking out the middle of the map from these anglers. So really misplayed, I guess you could say, from that top right hand corner. The eco is important, but it has just been. It was just done to the detriment of any chance of winning the game.
Well, you know, this is lime. You in colours, bro. Alright, Marauders down.
It's a light green.
Marauders
so what
down.
What colour's C then?
C, it's just hot green. I don't know, bright green. Yeah, there's different comments for this week. What do you guys reckon? Throw us your colour.
Give us a colour standard that we can not use.
Oh, we got a bombing run. They're scouting out at the same time. Oh no, they've guessed.
They guessed a spot for it and they didn't get it right.
Completely missed everything.
But have taken out a little bit of the constructors. Will they get another bombing run off done onto the APHIS, but not the build power or the conversion? And there are a couple of fighters taking these down. I don't reckon they're going to get anything here.
Hit the conversion or the build power. Never target the chunky APHIS.
Unless you have overwhelming. Nothing in that top corner. But there we go. That is the resign vote passed. The 4 players in the top right did have the 3 players in the top right did have the advantage against the top left of your team, but they didn't push that victory and crush it when they got in. Instead, they went into that eco, which turned out to be the wrong call there, allowing you guys to catch back up and eliminate your side and push across. Well played out of you, Tank Tom, particularly with changing your decision making and trying to find alternate routes into the base, as well as that smart agi at the very beginning. You took what you had and you tried to deal with it. I reckon if you can clean up your waypoints and your reclaim in order to build eco, I reckon you're going to be in a really good spot for that final push for OS 25.
Let's just point out this graph here. There's one real key thing with this game. There are 2 players on the green team that have consistent number of units out on the field compared to 1, 2, 3, 4 players for the red team. So that's really where this game was won. Eco was an advantage of the blue team, but units constantly in the advantage of the red team, and that's what won it. Aggression won the game.
All right, and on that one, I reckon we'll leave it there, and we'll get ready for what could very well be the very last game of Tank Tom's run. That's right, this one has taken him to 24 point. Is it 9.6 or 9.8?
9.7, right in the middle.
9.7, 24.97, which means that we have just one more win needed to get to that 25. Can Tank Tom do it in one more game? We'll find out in the next episode. Thanks everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Find us on our Discord. Join us on the live streams Wednesday and Sunday. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.